Joining me today, we have Taha Abbasi, the CTO of Ferrum Labs, creator of Ferrum Network. How are you today, Taha?
Great, doing awesome. Excited to be here and have a fun conversation with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So you have been at the Ferrum Labs since 2021, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so tell me first about the mission and the vision behind the company and the blockchain.
We started Ferrum with a simple vision to remove barriers to the mass adoption of Web3. This is simple but quite grand, and at the same time, how do you solve something so big? Where do you start? So we started to solve small aspects, starting with DeFi problems, with interoperability problems, and we've been building the infrastructure for 6 years. And some of those things we'll talk about today, including some of the work we've done in Tanzania, in Lisbon, and some of the work we hope to do across the world.
Okay, amazing. So I know that you focus on the infrastructure side of things, but Ferrum is a layer one.
That's
so
correct.
My question is, are you competing necessarily with other layer ones like Bitcoin, or what's the end goal?
I love that question, and the answer to that is actually in the name Ferrum itself. So Ferrum is the Latin word for iron,
right,
which is the 26th element on the periodic table, and it has a unique capability to fuse with the most elements with the least amount of friction. So we chose that name for a reason, because our goal is to bring together all of the different ecosystems, whether it's multiple layer ones, as we integrated over 24 of them, whether it's with Bitcoin itself, the Ethereum or the Solana ecosystem. We actually bring interoperability through our interoperability protocol, bring all of the benefits that these ecosystems provide. For example, Algorand's financial settlement infrastructure, Kudos' compute infrastructure. We bring all of this together, and then we secure it by settling it all on Bitcoin. So it's kind of like, instead of competing with layer ones, we're more about collaboration over competition and working to enhance the benefits of these different layer ones and even layer twos in some cases that have unique benefits that they're providing to the communities.
Okay, I see. So you guys want to improve, enhance, make better most layer ones and layer twos, but specifically Bitcoin. Yeah,
we'll make all of those access and development on these layer ones and layer twos better and secure it through Bitcoin, right? Okay. It also helps with the adoption of Bitcoin itself.
Gotcha. So the communication between all of the chains.
Exactly. Okay. And it's, if you look at it, like these kind of infrastructure things that don't seem as exciting are important. When you look at a football or a cricket match or an NFL match in the US today, you don't realize that behind the scenes there's AWS and other compute services that are doing millions of calculations per second. And to be honest, the average consumer, at the end of the day, when they're having their pizza and their beer or whatever favorite snack they're having and watching their favorite game, they don't want to know about all those intricacies.
Yeah, we don't care.
Exactly. So we want to make it so that we can provide this infrastructure so all that is possible without you understanding that it's even blockchain that's making this payment or information transfer happen.
Right. So then what is your ideal future when it comes to the industry of blockchain and Web3? How would you like to see all of these technologies come together at some point in the future?
I love that question. So if we go far out into the future, let's say in the next decade or so, I was born in Pakistan, and in Pakistan, for example, X is banned. Telegram can be banned on a regular basis. YouTube, if they don't agree with it, can be banned. Even in the US, where I live now, they recently tried to ban TikTok because they didn't agree. It didn't align with the political agenda, so to say, right? And I'm not saying that we go against compliance. What I'm saying is that the voice of the people should not be shut down. So I envision a future where the internet doesn't come from a central node and undersea cables as it does right now. I envision one where you have a device, there's devices all around in this room, similar to how AirTags work and AirDrop works. They can beam internet to each other.
Right.
So if you wanted to shut the internet down in the future, instead of having one master switch to shut the internet down for a country, you would have to physically go and take 200 million devices away from each citizen in Pakistan, as an example, or much more in the US. So it gives power to the people. But to make that possible, you have to build a lot of simple infrastructure, payments and other things happen first. So that's where our journey started with DeFi, then with interoperability to make all these chains easy to use, and then we eventually will end up where information transfer for people becomes seamless and peer-to-peer as well.
Okay, so how would you like the everyday person to start using more DeFi tools in their everyday lives? Like, what examples have you seen that you would like to improve on?
I think the best example you see is in the areas where they're being most hurt by inflation and they're being most hurt by the currency getting devalued. So when you travel to Venezuela or Argentina, if you carry US dollars and you want to convert them, you give them $10 and you come out with 2 bags full of cash that quickly lose value. So in Argentina, there's apps like Lime that convert at point of sale. So there will be like a vegetable cart vendor that's driving the cart on the street, and she will accept payment in crypto at point of sale. So this is why we're traveling to areas that don't have as much infrastructure, the remote areas of Tanzania, in areas of Africa, in areas of South America, which are up and coming. They're ready for innovation. People are ready to be part of the global economy, and we're trying to give them a way to connect with the global commerce system through Bitcoin, through crypto, through Ferrum, of course.
You mentioned Zanzibar, right?
That's correct.
So you recently went there and spoke to some of the tribes there?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
We were in Tanzania and Zanzibar. In Tanzania, we were meeting with the Maasai at the Maasai tribe in the Maasai Ikuboma Lodge. We also met with the Hadzabe tribe who speak in Click language.
Oh,
so if you want to know how to say hello in the Click language in Hadzabe's, this is how you say hello. So, but what's cool as you learn about these cultures, how does a person who doesn't have a birth certificate, who doesn't have a name that you can write down in a typical language, get the ability to sell their goods and services across the world? And crypto, Bitcoin can help with that. And Ferrum is here to try to connect those resources. You asked me, are we competing with the chains? No, Ferrum's whole purpose of existence is to, okay, Algorand is providing great payment settlement infrastructure. We don't need to go reinvent the wheel. They've already done the work to do so. So we work with Algorand to provide that connectivity, working with Circle to say, how can we convert a payment in XYZ coin into a stable coin, which can then settle into Tanzanian shilling and get paid for this local person who's trying to make, let's say, local honey that they want to sell to someone in Europe or the US.
Okay, but what kinds of devices are these tribes people using? Do they have phones? Like, how are you getting them more connected?
So the phones they seem to be the most obvious device, but they're not. There's actually these payment servers, similar to what you see with credit card processing payments. I actually experienced it first time in Hong Kong, where the BTC Pay server team, which is also an open source team, like there's not really a team behind it, it's a set of contributors. It's just a payment terminal, and you just teach them how to click a few buttons and accept payments like that.
Oh, okay. So they have that already?
Yes, exactly. And then we're trying to get more and more out there to people so they can have a way to accept payment in various crypto. Like you can get paid in Bitcoin, you can get paid in Ferrum, you can get paid in any token you want, and for them, they don't understand the value of these tokens. They don't need to. They can get that gets converted to their local currency. For the user buying as well, they don't need to understand the value of like, am I paying somebody who can't accept payment in USD?
Right.
They can pay in the currency that their credit card accepts, and it all gets converted in the background.
Oh, amazing. Okay. And I understand that in Africa and South America and places where there's high inflation, stable coin usage is very, very high. So did you see that while you were there, like people transacting in USDT or USDC? Not
so much in parts of Tanzania where we travel, because Tanzania has a bit more infrastructure in its more traveled areas because it's the Safari Central of the world through Arusha. So they have, but when you go into the remote areas, then it completely falls off. You do see a lot more usage in other parts of Africa and in South America, specifically Venezuela and Argentina, where crypto is like the go-to. In parts of Africa, Zcash is also a major thing. They have virtual currencies that are not even cryptocurrencies that they transact through just text messaging. So it's really interesting things that are happening, and I think the landscape is going to change. I think these decentralized currencies are going to continue to take shape because they allow people to participate in the global commerce world. Otherwise, they just wouldn't be able to. Right.
All right. So now let's take things to the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, specifically to Dubai, where there is a lot more, there's a lot of usage, but there's also a lot of regulatory clarity around a lot of these tools when it comes to CBDCs. And I mean, there's events also here every day. The community in the UAE is huge for crypto. So I wanted to ask you, how crucial is that regulatory clarity for the industry in general and for making Dubai, like perhaps some people call it the next Silicon Valley, but making it a crypto hub?
Yeah, I think Dubai is like ideally positioned, as everybody would agree, to be that next, it's already the financial hub, but perhaps the crypto hub as well, right? So I think in terms of regulatory clarity, it's extremely important because that's, for the last decade, we've had a lot of regulatory lack of clarity in the US with the SEC not really working to make rules. And even in my current trip, I went to Singapore to meet with some of our lawyers, and they said, because we don't have rules, we just need to keep a budget as a company aside to pay fines to the SEC, not because we're going out and breaking any rules, but because at any moment in time they can say, here's a rule that you didn't follow, because there's not infrastructure for us to comply with. I'm excited that the US is now making more rules and becoming like, okay, working with crypto organizations to formulate rules that can be followed, which makes it better for the community, for all citizens, and makes it easier for us to comply. So I love that Dubai, obviously, as they have led in the financial area already, are also leading in that area to set some regulation with CBDC.
Yeah.
I have some concerns about CBDC, and I hope that those will be addressed.
Let's talk about it. Are you a fan or not? Because at the end of the day, CBDCs are still government-controlled currencies.
Right. So in general, anything centralized I'm not a fan of. But when you come to implementing things in the real world, you have to think about a lot of implications. There are good and bad people in the world, and you have to think about how do you control bad things from happening, or how do you try to mitigate them from happening.
Yeah.
So what does CBDC bring us? This is how I formulate my opinion. It brings us more transparency. It brings us easy access to all movement of funds, which is something I would like to see. Imagine in the US you were able to see every single tax dollar and how it's spent. I think the public would be
I would like
absolutely up in arms about the amount of waste that is happening. So at that part of CBDC I like, that it's going to be publicly available. What I don't like is, let's say in the US example, and this can happen in UAE and other areas as well, if you don't agree with the politics or what the other person is saying, and the person that's controlling the monetary policy then says, because you did not vote a certain way or you did not say the right thing, I'm taking all of your funds away. I'm taking your livelihood away. I'm taking your ability to even travel, because even to travel, you have to spend money to buy a ticket. That can take away human mobility, and that part I'm skeptical about. So if there's a governance mechanism that can be introduced by whoever is introducing CBDC, that can also have the voice of the people, that, okay, sure, we can have control mechanisms, but there should be people that are voted in to sort of like a CBDC DAO. I think that's a good compromise to start. Of course, I would like to see a fully decentralized version of a digital currency, but if it gets us closer to transparent transaction of payments and understanding how our money is being moved around, I'm in favor of that. But there needs to be some controls.
Okay. No, I agree with you there. All right, and what about ETFs, exchange-traded funds? Do we think that there might be an ETF coming up soon in the UAE?
I think it's inevitable, to be honest with you, with it starting in the US and then Hong Kong having so much traction with it. I know ETFs, like people measure ETFs with the price of Bitcoin somehow, and there's a lot of talk about ETFs didn't really help the Bitcoin bull run, and it's like, I don't agree with that, because for the first time in the history of having cycles, because of ETFs, we hit an all-time high before halving, right? And I think what we're seeing in the downtrend of the Bitcoin price right now is natural. This has always happened with the crypto summer coming post halving.
Corrections are normal.
Exactly. So I think ETFs are giving access to people like my parents, my uncles and aunts who would never easily be able to access this, and even some of my family who wants to take advantage of the positive trend of this asset class, is able to do it through their 401ks. And I think that's something that is definitely going to happen in the UAE. UAE is the leader in a lot of these financial instruments anyway. So I think it's only a matter of time, and I think it might be one of the best ones out there once it's introduced. I'm a big fan of the UAE, so I'm rooting for them to come out with one and to have a lot of success with it.
Yes, we'll see what happens. And when it does, I'll bring you back on and we can talk about it then.
That sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Bitcoin then, because I noticed you have an orange shirt on.
That's right, yeah.
And you have this little pamphlet here. So if you could talk a little bit about what Bitcoin means to you first, personally.
Yeah, for me, Bitcoin it's very close to my heart. The Bitcoin mission I call it Satoshi's mission, which is what I call our own mission as well. We actually created this Ordinals passport here recently at a conference, at a non-fungible conference in Lisbon. And I say we created this, but we share with people that this is not our passport. This is not your passport. This is everyone's passport, because we wanted to use this as a mean to educate people about what Bitcoin is. When you ask about Bitcoin, somebody's like, who's running it? And it's very hard to understand that there's no one person running it. It's all of ours. And all of us get to have a say, like you, myself, people watching this video will get to have a say in how it is run, how it evolves. So this passport, while we launched it, we made it open source, we made it completely not for profit, and it was built with the collaboration of all the artists, the projects that went into this, right? And with this passport, we told the story of human mobility. So before we had standardized travel documents, visas, passports.
Yeah, we still have that.
Right,
yeah.
and we still have, but before that time, you needed the permission of your landlord or some authority to move from one city to the other. You just couldn't move around.
Yeah.
It wasn't as easy for me, for example, from India at that time, because Pakistan was combined into the Indian subcontinent, just moved to another place. If you go even further back, it was much harder. Standardized travel documents allowed humans to have a way, okay, if I meet this criteria, I can go and get a visa for this country and travel here. So give humans the mobility to travel across the world and expand our horizons. With the Ordinals passport, we built this on Bitcoin. We secured it with an EVM ecosystem partner that we have listed right here. So it was secured by Chainlink VRF. But we brought together EVM ecosystems and Bitcoin ecosystems to show that Web3 citizens can have mobility across ecosystems. And even Web2 citizens, we taught them through fiat funerals, there was a ball pit that we had where they were hunting rare sats. So we educated them about inflation, about how crypto can solve some of those problems. So Web2 citizens can have mobility to come into Web3. So it's just like mobility from one ecosystem to another through the Ordinals passport. Another one of the initiatives that Ferrum and Ferrum Labs is like really passionate was just education of different things that matter to people, but doing it in a fun way.
Right, of course. Yeah, we have to focus on fun too. Otherwise it's too boring or too serious.
Exactly.
All right, so NFC, I missed that event, but I will try to go next year. What other events are you looking forward to in the near future? So
we're going to be in Nashville with Bitcoin Nashville. We're going to be specifically attending and have a presence at Inscribing Nashville. We're also going to be at Token 2049 and Art Basel in Miami later.
Okay.
Also SmartCon with Chainlink that's happening in Hong Kong. We're going to be there too. So quite a few fun things. And then of course at NFC we're planning to have a massive presence. At the recent NFC, all you had to do is grab a passport and do 26 activations, meaning just go see an art exhibition, see a music exhibition, look at a project's work and learn something cool. And then you got to come to a yacht fleet party at the end. So just a simple perk. Learn some cool stuff, experience some cool art, and come have a party at the end of it.
Of course there's a yacht party.
Yeah, of course there's a yacht party, right?
Okay, amazing. And what is next for Ferrum Labs and Ferrum Network?
So Ferrum Labs is one of the key contributors to the Ferrum Network protocol. Ferrum Network protocol, like Bitcoin, is not anyone's protocol. It belongs to everyone. Ferrum Labs is actually conducting its raise now to be able to facilitate and increase the adoption of all of the things that I just talked about.
Okay.
It's nice for us at our current scale to go meet with the local tribes in Tanzania, to meet with the people in need in South America, but we want to amplify that to the next level. So Ferrum Labs as an entity is going to be looking for capital partners for other partnerships as well to further amplify that and to roll out all of the tech that we've been building for the last 6 years. Unlike most projects where you shill, raise money and then go out, we've spent 6 years building and now we're like, hey, help us get this out to the world.
Okay, and what is the best way for someone to reach out to you if they have any questions or to learn more about the network?
I think the best way is to go to ferrum.network and then we have our Telegram over there and then you reach out, we have our whole team over there to connect with us. Yep.
Okay, amazing. Well, keep me updated on all things Ferrum and any progress you're making, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for tuning in to this interview with Taha Abbasi from Ferrum Labs. Reach out to him if you have any questions, and also let me know what you think about this conversation in the comments. And don't forget to check out other conversations that I've had on Crypto TV on Web3 TV. See you guys next week.